What is going on, guys? In today's video I'm bringing you the ultimate beginner's guide to Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. Whether you're just stepping into this dark cursed world or you want to optimize your early game, then this guide will cover everything that you need to survive and thrive. We'll go over the best starting choices to fit your playstyle, how to explore and survive the deadly lands of Avalon, how gear and weight affects your build, which stats and skill trees should you focus on, and how to master the game's tough but rewarding combat. Also, if you're interested in buying other PC or console games with 50 or 70% discount, then check out Instant Gaming. For example, I want to buy Elden Ring, so we just click on Add to Cart, then click Pay, then input our details and pay. After payment is complete, we will receive activation key, then copy and paste the key in, and it's that simple. So, what are you waiting for? Click my link in the description and check out Instant Gaming for yourself. So let's get right into it. Your journey will begin with a prison guard asking questions about your past. These answers will define your starting abilities, spells, and the crafting knowledge. For instance, a military background might grant you proficiency with the heavy armor and the melee weapons, while claiming a mystic path might equip you with the healing or the fire spells. Your answers to these questions are more than flavor, they will shape your playstyle from the very beginning. So make your choice wisely. If you want to use the sword or melee weapons, then go with infantry. If a bow and ranged weapons are your thing, then go with archer. And if you want to use magic and staffs, then go battle mage. And lastly, if you are planning to play in a group and you want to be more of a support role, then go with a healer. Next up we have exploration and survival. Avalon is a dangerous place, filled with the mystery, beauty and the horror. Hidden treasures, lore fragments and the side quests will lie scattered across the land. Every ruin, forest and the settlement has something worth discovering, and you'll often come across locked chests, secret passages and the NPCs with the branching dialogues. So talking to the right person or reading a forgotten note might reveal a shortcut, unlock a crafting recipe or alter the outcome of a major questline. So all in all, you want to explore and pick up as many side quests and things as possible, because the more you do, the higher your XP gain will be. And as each level gives us one attribute and one skill point, so we want to get as high level as possible. The environment itself tells a story, and careful observation can lead to powerful weapons, hidden spells or unique companions. Now let's talk about gear. There are 9 gear slots, so the helmet, totem, gauntlets, armor, necklace, the ring of toughness, greaves, a regular ring and the boots. In Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon, items aren't tied to rarity or the level, but they have attribute requirements. So you can equip any item, but if you don't meet the attribute requirements, then you won't gain the passive bonuses. Each gear piece also has weight, and when your total gear weight will cross a certain threshold, then you will receive small debuffs like the slower attack speed or reduced stamina regeneration. These penalties are relatively minor until you cross into the super heavy category, and at that point your movement will become painfully slow. And honestly, it's just not worth it unless you're playing a super ultra tanky build. There's a way to reduce gear weight, so what you can do is head to the grindstone and use the armor weight reduction option. For gold and materials, you can slightly reduce an item's weight, but keep in mind, each reduction only will cut 0.5 weight and costs a decent chunk of money, so I highly recommend to only do this on at least the blue rare gear, and only if you're confident that you'll be using that gear for a while. Then, while you're at that grindstone, there are 3 other important options. First, there's handcrafting, which lets you use gathering materials to craft gear and items. However, to craft equipment, you will need to find specific recipes out in the world. Next, we have upgrade feature. Again, it will cost materials and gold to enhance your gear, and I suggest saving this for the later game, maybe after level 20, when your gear is more permanent. Lastly, there is a relic sorting system. Each gear piece has 2 relic slots, and as you explore Avalon, you will find or purchase relics that can be slotted into your gear for even more power. All of these systems, so the weight reduction and upgrading relics, will offer small but meaningful stat boosts. Still, in the early game, it's better to focus on collecting resources and saving money than investing in the temporary boosts. So wait until you're confident in your build and gear before dumping your gold into upgrades. Then, while we are on the topic about resources, let's talk about gathering. As you explore Avalon, you will come across all kinds of materials, so ore, berries, food, herbs and more. Like in most open world RPGs, the general rule is to pick up everything. You can always fast travel back to your base and sell or store extra items later. Materials are used for crafting, alchemy, cooking, and upgrading, so having a larger stockpile will pay off later. That said, inventory weight becomes a problem fast, so enemies will drop a lot of items, and if you loot everything, then you will become over-encumbered consistently. You will end up fast shoveling every 5 minutes, just to clear your bag. And unfortunately, most weapons and armor will sell just for 1 to 10 gold, making them hardly worth picking up unless you're completely broke. So if you're not near your base, aka the Horns of the South, or if you're far away from any shop, then I just recommend to just drop the extra gear rather than hauling it around. Just focus on keeping materials and useful items. You can also store items in a chest that you can access in different locations and around the map, but I mainly recommend to use this only if you plan to test out multiple builds, and then storing different rare items or gear pieces will become worth it. But if you're not doing that, then selling or dropping the items is the way to go. And then, to gather specific resources like wood, fish or ore, you will need the proper tools. So head to the Orlet and open her shop, buy a pickaxe, a shovel, fishing rod and the wood cutting axe. You don't need to equip these in your weapon slots, just having them in your inventory is enough. Your character will automatically use the correct tool when approaching a resource node. Also, don't forget about the shovel, it's easy to overlook, but while you don't use it for gathering, you'll need to dig up buried chests and complete certain quests. If you don't have one on you, then you might miss out on treasure, or be forced to backtrack later. Next up, let's look at your character stats. When you open your character panel, the first section is status. This will show you the core stats like strength, endurance, dexterity, spirituality, and practicality, along with your progress in specific weapon skills. These stats will level up passively as you use them. For example, using a bow will increase your archery stat over time by slightly boosting your bow damage. The same applies for one or two-handed weapons and etc. This section is mostly informational, so you don't need to spend too much time here. It just lets you see what's leveling up in the background. Then the second section is attributes. This is where you're actively assigning points when you level up. These attribute points are crucial, especially because the higher level gear will require specific attribute thresholds. For instance, a piece of armor might require 8 strength and 6 endurance. I recommend to allocate points based on your gear requirements rather than just min-maxing damage. For my build, a full melee warrior using a sword, I focus on strength and endurance, so I hit those first. And after that I had the option to keep stacking strength for more damage, or to branch out into other attributes if I wanted to experiment with new weapons or playstyles. Just keep in mind, attribute bonuses are small, so each point only gives you about plus 1% to related stat. Think of this section more as a gateway to your gear requirements, rather than a place to boost your raw power, because that's where the next part comes in. So now we've come to the real heart of your build, which is the skill tree. Here's where your choices really matter. You will find 6 branches: the strength, endurance, dexterity, spirituality, perception, and practicality. These trees are where you invest to directly boost your power and define your combat style. As a sword-focused warrior, I went deep into the strength tree. I picked up passives that increase melee damage, boost two-handed sword damage, and add lifesteal and the stun effects. This allowed me to stun enemies, burst them quickly, and regain health in the process. If you're interested in this build, then I'm actually dropping a full build guide video tomorrow, so stay tuned. The important thing here, however, is just to focus on the nodes that increase your DPS or defense depending on your role. Also, don't just unlock the big passives and ignore the smaller ones. Completing all 5 small circles under a passive will increase the bonus significantly. For example, a passive might say plus 5% melee damage, but when you fully unlock all of its nodes, then you get plus 25% total, which is a massive difference. So when leveling up your skill tree, pick a path that fits your weapon and the playstyle, and fully commit it. This is where the real power boost comes from, not the attributes or the stat screens, but here in the skills. Next up we have combat mechanics. Combat in the Fall of Avalon is visceral, punishing and highly dependent on the preparation. Melee attacks, ranged weapons, blocking and dodging are all affected by your equipment, stamina and the chosen skills, so swinging widely will leave you exhausted, while a well-timed parry or a dodge can turn the tide of a difficult battle. Spells like the Burning Ember, which some characters can start with, will provide ranged firepower or the healing options. As you increase your spirituality stat, more potent magical abilities will become available, allowing you to control crowds, buff yourself or debuff enemies. However, casting spells will cost mana, and without proper planning or items, you might find yourself helpless in the prolonged fights. Your approach to combat is largely defined by your build. A heavily armed warrior might stride into the center of a fight with a greatsword, while a thief would strike from the shadows, relying on sneak attacks and the poison. An archer might prefer to pick off targets from a distance, while the battle mage will balance melee and the magic. Experimentation is the key here. What I personally found to work the best for me is to be careful of my stamina, and now I almost never block incoming attacks, but instead use my dashes and get in and out of fights, because previously when I would be blocking after about 2 blocked hits, I would usually be out of stamina, and then I couldn't attack, run away or do anything else. So no matter what type of weapon you use, never block but just attack. Dash away, attack again, then dash away again and rinse and repeat. However, if you see yourself being in trouble, then easily just reset your stamina by running away a bit and letting it recover. And now, last but not least, let's take a look at the dialogue and decision making. Choices will matter in the Tainted Grail. The dialogue often involves skill checks that depend on the attributes like perception, practicality or spirituality. If you invested into the right stat, then you might pressure a guard to let you pass, lie your way out of danger or uncover hidden truths during the conversation. But if you lack the necessary skills, then these opportunities will vanish. The consequences of your choices are far-reaching. Help one faction, and you may earn their loyalty while making enemies elsewhere. Mercy can sometimes bring long-term benefits, but cruelty might get the job done faster. NPCs remember your decisions, and entire questlines can change based on how you interact with them. This level of reactivity will encourage multiple playthroughs that can each reveal different aspects of the world. However, I went with the kill them all strategy, and the only difference I found that is that I get more fights and more equipment that shows up as stolen. You can only wear this equipment, so you can't sell it. But to be honest, besides that, I really can't see any downsides of just fighting your enemies straight on, rather than just trying to negotiate with them. Of course, if you prefer roleplay, then go ahead. But if blood and action is all you're looking for, then don't worry and just fight everybody. So, let me know what you think about Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my future videos where I will be exploring this game much more in depth. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.